You ready, Vic? Okay, so we're going to start from the mount today, and we're actually talking about back taking. We're not going to talk about mount control. We will get into a class about mount control at some point soon. But today's all about the back, and we're going to keep it very fundamental, and we're going to use our system of back taking and how to keep and control the back, submissions from the back, and preferences from taking the back. So for the first portion, what we're going to work on here is when we're in mount and we want to take the back, and we're talking fighting, MMA, self-defense, any scenario where you find yourself on top of a person who's not allowing you to get this, a high mount, where you can control them and have them relax. We're talking about a person in a self-defense situation that's reaching for your groin, clawing at your eyes, maybe has hurt you or hurt your family in some way, and you really need to get control of this monster because you can't get high. So a couple of punches. First, the first technique is the trap, okay? So we trap a hand and the other hand, okay? So 1, 2, on top of itself. 1, 2, the trade, okay? Hands pressing down, my weight pressing down on the hands. I can hit him, and I can transfer hands. What happens here is the person starts to reach out and turn their back. It's turn, keep going, turning forward, turn all the way to your back. If I keep pinching and I stay too close, I can fall. Okay? Because I'm too connected to it. Right? So you don't want to be very connected to your opponent when you're punching. When you're doing jiu-jitsu, you can widen out. There's a lot of different mounts and low mounts. But for the sake of having the back in MMA, I want to trap his hands. I want to give him a couple of punches that make him feel that he's in a position of worry where he needs to turn over to get away from getting hit. From here, I sit up and I allow him to turn over, or I help him. Look, I push his elbow. You should come around and follow so you can see the details. As soon as the hand comes up to try to turn to get to his back to turtle, I want to follow with my knees and help him get to his back. Okay? If his hand stops him from right there, either I'm going to come under and take his hand and put him on his back so that I know I can now bring my knees up high or stay here, or I give him a couple more punches. A couple more punches, make him turn all the way over, okay? Once you have your man all the way over, there are two ways that this is taught, and you'll find it if you want to look on YouTube, and you want to watch Hickson, who's our amazing reference. However, we have so many other different amazing references. And one thing that we don't do is tuck our feet under the legs. So what you'll notice a lot of the time, if I bring my weight into him, sometimes people will tell you to put your feet in here, especially if he starts trying to get up to his knees. So if he gets up to his knees, yes, you have to put your feet in. However, I'm never going to stretch my legs. You see my legs? I'm not going to push his legs to bring his hips down, because all he has to do is keep standing up with his hands, and it's going to become a situation, stand up on your back feet, where I lose control and I'm going to fall forward. This happens, okay? I've hit him a couple of times. He's turned over and he starts to get to his knees. Go ahead and get to your knees, Eduardo. He starts to lift me to his knees. I will put my feet in. However, I'm going to sit back and make sure my butt is on his butt. And from here, I'm going to get my hand under his elbow, preferably holding his hand if I can. If not, at least just one hand under, okay? Rather hold his hand. Now, it's not going to be my feet that bring him down. I don't care how big he is. My preference is my head over his head, my chest over his chest. My principles are in alignment. I have 4 points of base here. And now I'm going to bring my hips, as I widen out my knees, I'm going to bring my hips down. I don't care how strong you are. That's going to bring this, you see? Now what I don't want is his thighs and my heels. Because if I'm on the street, my ankle is into the concrete. And depending on the flexibility of your feet, that could really hurt. So what I like to do once I get here is I like to make sure that I pull them out if I can. If I can get them here, or if I can get them here. This is where I prefer for them to be. Hipping in is the same. If he tries to get up, it's going to be very difficult for him. I don't have to worry about my ankles. So that's a slight detail, okay? From here, part of our rule set, my head is over his head. I'm in complete alignment with his body. My chest is to his chest. Part of our rule set says that we need to control his hands. Okay, so if I see him pushing up with his hands, that's the perfect time for me to grab his hands, rev my wrist, so I don't just pull. Look at my hand revving like a motorcycle. I rev my wrist and I bring my elbows in. Now my chest comes down over his chest and I keep my head close to his head. Why? Because his last resort is to headbutt me, fling his head back and break my nose. So I keep my head close to his head. This is something that's not always talked about. His hands, the pressure of my chest on his chest is keeping his hands in the ground and on the floor. And I'm gonna hip in to make sure that his hands stay. The second is my head, pressing his head on the floor. That makes sure it's very, very difficult for him to lift up out of this. This is really a hard position to be in. Now, if you feel your hand is stuck, all you're gonna do is make a knife hand, and you're gonna wiggle it and pull back with your elbow. So my left hand feels stuck, I'm gonna make a knife hand, I'm wiggling it, and I pull it back with my elbow. From here, doesn't matter, but preferably, you're gonna do your choke on the side that he's looking away from. So I see that he's looking that way, so my thumb is gonna go behind his ear here, shoot in and come up to his shoulder. Okay? I want my elbow under his chin. So from here I can come up with a little bit of space. Get my head to his head, elbow under his chin. This is a choke in itself, one. But if you want a monster choke, my weight's still on his hands. This hand, never here, because if he has a hand out, you can stop it. Yes, exactly, see? You want this, knife hand, elbows over elbows, you want to look symmetrical, head to his head, and you hit him, and that's it. 8 seconds, he's asleep. Okay, that's the master back take. Master Joe would say, we want his neck. Okay, we don't need his back, we need his neck. So when we take the back with the intention of control and submission. Not take the back for points. Take the back to control and submit, okay? So that's gonna be our first, and then we'll move into back control with hooks, and if you fall backwards on your back, how to control that situation and get back to the preferable choke. There's always options for submissions off your back. We'll show a couple of those, but we all know that preferably we want to be on top. Okay? So, chance. You just give me a couple of hits. Yep, boom, boom, bop, bop, right there. Starts to make me turn. This is what always happens. As I turn, you can help by pushing the elbow. Boom, that helps. Now make sure you're not too tight.
Yeah, I'm not tight.
You're walking with me, right? As I'm trying to cover up, you're walking with me. From here, yes, you take the hands, chest over the chest, watch your head, you see? Make sure your head is yep. Now, you don't need to have the hooks. Just put your feet over the inline of where my knees bend, and bring your hips, widen up the knees and bring your hips down. Yeah, good. Now, keep your head pushing my head to the floor. You see how that makes me unable to do anything. From here, you can go ahead and wiggle your hands out with a knife hand. Find which side I'm looking at, that's the side. Take it to the shoulder first. Now take the other hand out. Get your elbow under my chin to make it perfect. Take the other hand out. Yep, you can take the other hand out and push my chin with it. If I'm not allowing you, push my chin with it. Yes, man, Okay, so here's our second option coming from the mouth. Again, we're not going to change the rule set here. We're not talking jiu-jitsu, we're talking about it too. We're talking no rules, street. Anything can happen. But you'll see how it'll work for jiu-jitsu as well. We'll get to that. Right now we're talking street. So from our mount, the easiest way to get someone's back is a couple punches to the face. You could watch any Hicks and Grayson fight and you'll see that. Watch any MMA fight and you'll see that. So by trapping the hands that are trying to push me away or get away way by pushing down on the hands, trapping the hand with one, hitting him a couple of times with the other one. He's going to strengthen himself out to free himself as I'm hitting him and start to turn to his back. That elbow always happens. You can help him to turn with it. You can hit him a couple more times and the back becomes yours. Okay? However, there are times where our person starts to stand up fast and we don't expect it. Boom! We have to put our hooks in. Okay? If this person falls to the side, we want to make sure that we have our hand under the arm. At least this, preferably this, holding one arm. See 4 points of base? If you feel that he starts to turn towards the side, you can also put your hand over his head and clasp your own hands and help him to go to the side. Okay? So now, if he was falling that way, you just help him to go that way. First things first. He's way far away from me to finish him. You see how far away he is? So, the first thing I want to do is make sure that my leg isn't flat on the floor. This is his escape. If he puts his weight on my leg, it's over. Okay? Next, I also don't want to be too loose and have no control of his arms because he can always tug under and shoot himself under. Just like dog walk under. Yeah. Million ways to go under. So what I want is I want to have my hooks to turn into feet pushing down on his hips. Feel that? Guys, sorry, just for the. So my feet are pushing down on his hips, and my hips are coming up just a little bit. And I'm always making sure to have what's called this. One arm under, one arm over. They call it a seat cup. Now you don't necessarily need to grab or hold. What you need is one arm under, one arm over. Watch my elbow and feel my wrist pulling. You feel that? So I'm connected here. It's hard to see, but I'm pitting this shoulder and this shoulder, and I'm pitting this hip and this hip. Remember, he's supposed to be flat, right? So now, if he tries to turn right or left, Eduardo turn right or left, very difficult without me following him, wherever he's going to go. You can come around if you need to. Good. Very difficult, because I have my seatbelt control. As you can see, look, my arms are ready in a position of getting ready to choke him. But look at how far away he is from me. So in order for me to choke him, if he's not already defending, go ahead and pull the arm, however way you want to defend it. If he's not already defending my arm, the first thing to choke him is, I need to get close. I can't allow his head to the floor, and I can't allow his hips to the floor. So I'm always pulling his hips, and I'm going to start to shrink myself in here to his head. You see how close I am? Now this gives me the power to fight his hands and get him if I have to fight hands. We can talk about taking hands and doing this stuff for sure. But even without it, just coming tight and close, getting under his chin, this gives me my finish. Okay? If, for whatever reason, he starts panicking and wants to run over my leg, and I feel him start running this way you want to bring the camera around. My principles from the bottom say, help him go wherever he wants to go. So I shouldn't stop him, even though a lot of people would. I'm going to help him. So as he starts to run, I kick his leg. You see that? I kick his leg to help him go. Now look at my elbow. I sit up, and I get his neck. Right here. There's my finish. Boom. He's going to give me his neck. If he doesn't give me his neck, he's going to give me the reset for his back again. Okay? He starts to run again. I help. I kick him with his butt. Boom. I can switch my arm over here, sit up on my elbow, cup his head, and he's mine again. Okay? Kicking him out since that's the way he wants to go. All right? So first drill. We're going to start from here as we fell down. First thing we want, Two hooks that are keeping, not just sitting here, they're keeping his hips flat. They're engaged, they're squeezed, and they're pulling him in. This, either a seatbelt, you can have this, you can have this. As long as your arms are over, they don't have to be together, they need to be bringing him to you. My elbows, everything bringing him to me. From here, if I want to finish, I can finish the same way. However, if we fall to a side, doesn't matter, which is, they say this is the strong side or weak side. If we fell to this side, it would be the strong side, because the choke is here. If we fell to this side, considered the weak side. But that's not necessarily true. Because as long as I don't let his head touch the mat, and I stay tight, my principles are in, I can finish him. Doesn't matter, it's not a strong or weak side. If he starts trying to run out because his weight's on my leg, I bump him and let him go. I take his head, and he's mine. Okay, so the submission is on no matter what. Okay? This is just somebody that's really big, but we don't want to punch, we don't want to hit this person, but we need their back. Okay? First thing we're going to do when we're in the low mount position is make sure that you have base. So I'm here with only 2 points. So I'm going to put a base on him. Wherever his hands are, if his hands are there, preferably, I want to have his hands. So now I have 3 points of base, my head over his head, and I'm in line. Okay? He's got elbows that are going to always be sticking out. You see, even if he pulls them in, there's always a little bit of elbow that's sticking out. So if I can't get it with my knee, I'm just going to shoot my arm in there and walk my fingers out. Okay? Once I walk my fingers out and I see this exposed, I bring my knee. Okay? This arm now, here, I'm going to push. As I push, look, it's the same arm that starts to help him turn. I take a wrist, I reach under, here, look, boom. Foot here, knee here. From here, my foot is going to walk back. Look. I'm going to bring my body back, right here over his shoulder, and drive. Okay? So he feels the pressure. If I want to make it worse, I can pull him over here, look. Now drive. Okay, because his body's in this alignment. I don't need anything more than this. The finish for the choke is here too. Or I just stay right here, or I start coming in and finish my choke right here. Okay? You don't have to have them full flattened out. You can have one here and one here, which is honestly a little bit better for being able to stand up. Okay? You can also put your hand on the head and sit up higher on his body and just hold him here, sit on his hand, squeezing, putting your weight on his head. You don't want to hurt somebody or choke somebody. And this isn't going to kill him, this isn't going to do nothing, this is going to emasculate him, maybe. However, this gives you the opportunity to help him get arrested or whatever is necessary without having to punch somebody. Okay? So remember, in your jiu-jitsu or your grappling, whether it's striking or not, you never know who you're dealing with. Get the hands. Okay? Always. Or have your base. But if your base can be having his hands, your face on him, great, because this is what's dangerous to you. His hands. So when I put my weight down on his hands and I see his elbow, if my knees can't do it, my knees and my elbows together can do it. This can always do it. So now if I want to take his back, it's super easy. I'm just pushing at the elbow, moving, hipping in. Okay? Sitting down, pushing his head down. Okay? Without even choking, without even submitting. However, I want to submit, there's one right there. If I want to submit, there's one right here. Okay? So we're not going to get into all the submissions, but you can see how your position gives you your options. Okay? This is a carotid choke here. This is a wrist. Here's another wrist. And if you want to come up and make a hold here, you can. Wrist. There's another choke here. Okay. Everything is here. You can more lock here. Wrist here. Okay. So let's focus on the principles that give you the back. When you're in top position, having control of the hands and having control of the tricep. Okay? The tricep is everything. So if you can push that elbow, you're gonna force the turn. If you're choking the person, you're gonna force the turn. Or if you're attacking the person, you're gonna force the turn. That's the key to getting the back from mount. Okay? You're never gonna get the back on somebody who trains and knows how to do jiu-jitsu or knows how to fight if you're not attacking them from the mount, whether it be strikes, chokes, or some kind of pressure that makes them feel like they need to get to their side to give you that exposure of the elbow, or make them feel like they need to push to give you exposure of the elbow so you can take control of the tricep. That's what's going to give you that. Okay? So let's rep the second one, just falling back and keeping control. And we'll go back. Yeah, we can talk about getting it from the mount. It's fine. We do the same thing. Okay. So same thing. We start from the mount. Whether I have his hands and I'm punching until he turns, or I'm getting his elbow. This is what I want. Once I have the elbow, so that I can push and get my body up and help him to turn. Take a wrist, put my foot in the ground, help him to turn, and hip in, or whatever. Once he's here, his back is exposed. Everything is exposed. Now, primarily for our system, what we want is the neck. We don't want the back. But we want to have full control of the body with our hands free to finish the fight. So I'm gonna, for this position, I'm gonna pull him back, and let's say I turn him over and he pushes himself up. Okay? I'm gonna allow it. For the simple reason alone, I'm gonna allow it to get high. Okay? Now when you do this, you gotta be very careful. This is why I say before you do it, make sure you put two hands on him. One on his hip, one on his shoulder. Okay? So that you're right here in the middle and your head's still over his head. And this is not really 4 points of base, but it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And this is going to stop him from wanting to go down or come up. What it's going to allow me to do is to get at least one hook in over his arm. You see that? That's all I need. Once I have one hook in over his arm, I can take his face, or I can take his other arm and fall back. Look how high I am. You see how high I am? He's not able to run over this leg anymore. No matter where he goes, he's not running over this leg. This is where triangles and all kinds of things start to happen. But just the choke alone, as high as I am, 1 and 2. Okay? So I have two hands on one, which push it down, bring this in. Now I'm gonna push down on his hip and on his hip. Now both my feet are going to go behind his back and squeeze. Just like this. Okay. I can sit up, bring myself to him, cross my hands under, elbows in, or I just hold him here. Okay? Just hold him here. That's it. Okay? But the choke, he has nothing. It's nothing for him. It's all my fault. Okay? And your guy starts to turn over and his hands are on the floor and he goes to sit up. Boom! Two hands here. One hook goes in his arm. I grab the other arm and I sit down. If I don't have a crucifix arm bar, I go ahead and adjust myself so that his arm is locked. Two hands on one so that his arm is locked. I push my foot in the ground and I have this. Okay? Perfect and have your pressure on correct. So as you're hitting the guy, he turns over and you're trying to get your pressure right. He sits up. He's big. Oh shit, he helps me up. I have to put my weight on before I fall off and I gotta get my base. Now I'm just looking for the option to put my leg in here. Once I have my leg in here, my head comes over his head and I take an arm, look, and I just sit back and fall. Now this gives me crucifix, arm lock, which we've seen plenty of times. I can switch my angle and it's even an arm lock here, plus an arm lock here. Or look, I switch my angle even more. It becomes a triangle. Look, take my foot, boom, here, throw it over. We have a triangle arm bar. Or I switch my angle. He's fighting really hard with his arm. To not get his arm locked, that's fine. We sit up, we push his arm down, and we finish. Okay? You ready? So we have a late response now. So now we got our guys back. We seatbelt him. Maybe we got his hand, maybe we don't. But the guy's quick. He's moving. He gets to his side. Make sure you come around so you can see the details. I'm unable to get my hand, my choke hand in. Maybe his hands are over my hand, but I still have this underhook. I still have my seatbelt, per se. That's the most important. As he's running and he gets out, what I want to avoid is him going up into turtle position. Go to turtle. Now I'm in trouble. I lost everything. Right? And don't get upset with yourself if you're late, because we're always going to be late. We're all practicing this, trying to get good. So you want preferably to have him flat on the floor, belly down, but that's not always the case. People are good. So in this case, this guy's good. Where you just slipped up, and the guy was able to run out. You weren't able to kick him. You weren't able to get the choke, and he was able to sit up. Follow him up. Make sure you follow him up, knee to knee, or put your knee here into his belly. His elbow and his hand here. It's the most important part. Okay, either this elbow or this elbow. It doesn't matter, whichever one you want. This one, if you have this one, you kick it in and you pull him down. Now you have the back again. Or side. Back, up. If it's not that one, then you go under here and you pull this one. Boom. And now you're here for just a straight pass. Side control. Okay? So that you're still on top and maintaining the position or going into your north-south. That way you never lose control. If you're late, you're not going to get smashed. You can still maintain your control and dominant position. Okay? So, let me start from the mount with you. We'll do all our real slow. In a row, this will be our drill. So one, we're in the mount. You climb the hands. 1, 2, he breaks free. We push the elbow. We can take his arm. Boom. Go turn him over. Hip in. Push down on his hips. As his hands start trying to push up, pull everything in. I pull everything in. I get my head behind his head. Boom. Finish choke 1. Boom. We sit up. Back to this control. He starts to sit up with his feet. I get my hooks in. I get my hand under his arm to force the side. Look, over his head, my hand as I turn to force which side we're going to fall to. I say we fall this way. If I'm on my back, my feet go to his hips. I don't care about trapping his hands. What I care about is that my hands are over his hands. That's all I care about for now. And look at this hand in the choking position. So if he takes this hand free to push my leg out of the way, that's great. Kick him. So he has to post. Arm comes in, grabs my own shoulder, bulldog choke. Okay? Go back one more time. Just here again. This time I wasn't fast enough for both. He starts to get up on his hands and knees. Whoa, 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 boom. Hands here, hands here. I find the opening. I put my foot. I grab his arm. I fall. I bring him down. Pin this down into the floor. I either have crucifix Arm bar, I don't want to put my leg over his face. Everybody would do this. I don't want to free this arm. I like this. I'll just adjust myself until it's an arm bar, okay? Or until it's a wrist lock. But I like that arm trapped behind my foot. He's acting crazy with this arm, then I'm gonna adjust myself here. Pull my leg up, throw my leg over. Now we have a triangle, and we have arm bar, kimura, wrist, anything you want. All the options from the triangle position, okay? Or I can just adjust back, sit up. If he sits up and he's fighting, keep fighting. I take his neck, put my leg over his leg, get one thumb part under his chin, clasp, pinch, choke. Okay, so that's the leg. The final, I have his back. We fell to one side. I didn't get the submission. He ran over my leg. I'm kind of late. He's coming up with the turtle. I follow him. I make sure I have an elbow, and I either pull it to take him down, or I make sure I have this elbow under, pull it.